Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Testy Tuesday. Yep, it's July the 5th, and it's time to get put to the test. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. I'll bet you a lot of you will get this right off the bat. Who wrote the book of Deuteronomy? Yeah, the fifth book of the Bible. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Who wrote it? Was it Moses? Was it Aaron? Was it King David? Or was it the prophet Amos? The correct answer, well, you want the answers again? Oh, come on. You got this right away. Was it Moses? Was it Aaron? Was it David? Was it Amos? Well, I'll tell you right now, it wasn't David. It wasn't King David. No. It wasn't the prophet Amos. No. And that's someone we'll have for our alternate Old Testament lesson this week. And most certainly it was not Aaron as well, because Aaron, even though he was the sidekick of Moses, no, it wasn't him. That only leaves Moses, right? And it's kind of strange that Moses would be the author of Deuteronomy, because Deuteronomy talks about Moses' death. Yeah, go ahead, read it. Read it at the very end. It talks about Moses dying and how God took care of all the burial expenses. Yep. God took care of burying Moses, which leaves us now with some of the legend and folklore within Judaism that Moses never really died, that God just took him directly to heaven. And remember who shows up on the Mount of Transfiguration with Jesus? Moses and Elijah. Elijah, who also never died. He was taken up in the whirlwind. Remember that? All right. Yeah, kind of cool. But hey, let's get back to Deuteronomy. That's our passage for today, Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter. We're kind of starting right in the middle of verse 9 and going through verse 14. Just a little chunk of a whole that probably, if you really want to understand it, you got to read the first 10 verses of Deuteronomy and a little bit Deuteronomy 30 and a little bit beyond it as well. Then you'll get a better picture of what's happening here. But in the context of Deuteronomy, remember, the people they're outside of the promised land. They're getting ready to enter in, and Moses, well, he wasn't allowed to go in. Remember, because of his disobedience, God said, you won't enter the promised land. But Joshua was there, ready to lead the people in. And so he does what's called a rerun of all that happened out in the wilderness. Deuteronomy kind of, literally, it means second law. So there was another law that God gave? No, this is the second rendition of the law. It goes through Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, all those things they're part of the Torah as we now know it now, God's law, and does it all again. So you see a lot of similarities between the two. It's kind of a repeat, a rehash of all that. And so they're getting ready to enter in. And Moses says, now, look, this is the way it's going to be. You got to obey God's laws. If you don't obey the Torah, the law of God, things are not going to go well for you. If you do obey the Torah, the law, things are going to go pretty good. Let me just read there in verse 9. And the Lord your God will make you abundantly prosperous in all your undertakings, in the fruit of your body, in the fruit of your livestock, in the fruit of your soil. For the Lord will again take delight in prospering you, just as he delighted in prospering your ancestors, when you obey the Lord your God by observing his commandments. All right, and it goes on from there. See, what's happening is this kind of tells us one thing. If you look closely at verses 1 through 10, you're going to find something kind of interesting. It's like What does he mean? Our ancestors prospering and this and that and the other. Oh, is that the pre-Egypt stuff? Whenever we had to go down to Egypt, then we became slaves down there. Is that what they're talking about? All the good times we had before slavery? No, it's actually talking about all the good times the people had before the exile. Yes, before the exile. You see, most of this history, it's known as the Deuteronomic history, the book of Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Samuel, and the 2 Kings. It's a specific history of the people, and because if you look in Chronicles, you see something totally different, all right? Not totally, talk about the same people, but a whole different point of view. But the Deuteronomic history basically says, you obey the law, things are going to go well. You disobey the law, you're going to be tanked. You're going down, carried off into exile. And we can see that much of this book of Deuteronomy was probably put together by the priestly writers while they were in exile and after they had come back from exile, because that is what we have been able to discover, that the law of God, the Torah, those first 5 books of the Bible, they were finally put together and codified as the Torah well into the life of the people after the exile. All right? So keep that in mind as well. So how did the people know what the law of God was? Well, it's right here in the second part of our reading for today. Surely this commandment that I am commanding you is not too hard for you, nor is it too far away. It's not in heaven that we should say. Remember how Moses had to go up the mountain into the cloud, into heaven, so to speak, to get the law? Who will go up to heaven for us and get it for us so we may hear it and observe it? Nor is it beyond the sea that you should say, who will cross to the other side and get it for us that we may hear it and observe it? Now, what's that a reference to? It's nothing. It's in the Bible. It's actually in one of the Babylonian talks about how to live in the Epic of Gilgamesh, in which he has to cross the sea in order to get the word of the gods to bring back to the people. See, in the exile, the people were surrounded with those stories, and they would know exactly what was going on when they heard this part of Deuteronomy. Oh yeah, we remember that story. So neither do we have to go up on the mountain, or like Moses did, or do we have to go like our hero from the Epic of Gilgamesh had to do, to go across the sea to find this word. No. No, the word is very near to you. It is in your mouth and in your heart. It's in your mouth. It's what everyone says and passes on day after day after day. It is the oral traditions that you've grown up with, the ones that you're sharing with your kids and your grandkids. That's the word of God. It's not a difficult thing. It's not hidden. It's right there in plain sight on your lips. And then we'll see later on in the books of Jeremiah and Ezekiel and those a lot of the other prophets, how it's written right in our hearts, right in our hearts. So this law of God is a wonderful thing. Tells us how to live, how to order our lives. Not only that we might have a good relationship with God, but that we would have a right and peaceful relationship with one another. I know that as good Lutherans, we often say, oh, the law, that's not where it's at, because the law just leads to death. It shows us how bad we are. Well, yeah, that's one of what is called within Lutheran circles in theology, one of the uses of the law. But that's not really biblical in the sense of that's all there is for the law. No. The law is a gift from God to show us how we can get along with each other and glorify Yahweh, who is the one who created us in his image. It's a good thing. Now, as we read through the scriptures and we finally get to the New Testament, we realize, you know what? As good as it wasn't good enough. We still needed some help. That help that is the grace of God that's written all through the Old Testament. Oh, it's always been there, but we still just can't get it through our thick skulls. That's why we needed Jesus. That's why we have Jesus. Jesus who says he fulfills all the law. He just doesn't sweep it under the rug and throw it out in the garbage. No. He fulfills it, makes it come alive in our lives. So don't neglect the Old Testament. Don't neglect the law. Read it. There's a lot of good stuff there. There's a lot of dated stuff in there as well that doesn't make sense for us in our day and age. So that behooves you and me to get together and talk about it in Bible studies around our coffee tables like we do on Coffee Shop Thursday. Drinking our gourmet Lutheran coffee and trying to figure out exactly what it is about this law that is so wonderful that we could order and guide our lives by through the love and the grace shown to us in Jesus crucified, Jesus risen, Jesus coming again. Well, it is a little gray out there. There's not even any hint of blue. It's going to be raining in just a little while. So that's why I'm sitting out here right now. But God's blessings be with you, and enjoy your week ahead, which is going to be one grand and glorious one. Blessings be with you.